Okay, we should be live. Gonna check.
We think we're live. We've had a couple of false starts here with our tech, but we think we're live. My name's Aaron Hall. I'm here with my colleagues Rylan Warner and Jennifer Packer today, and we're going to be talking about the parole in place program for spouses of U.S. citizens. Do we think we are streaming and everything's going well from our end?
Trying to check.
All right.
Took some refreshing, so apologies for the
We'll
delay.
assume all is well. We'll assume all is well. So while he's checking that, I think the last time we had one of these streams in English, we had not yet seen the USCIS guidance that they put out. I'm not sure if it wasn't up on their website. I think Rylan said that he had seen that they'd put it up, but I hadn't seen it yet, and I don't think we talked about it. So there is more guidance than the official announcements, and there are some important questions addressed and many other questions that we haven't seen addressed yet. But maybe we can start for people who haven't read about this program and haven't seen any of these materials, if we could just talk through kind of what the basic requirements are and what we think that this might do for people. Jennifer, do you want to start by kind of walking us through the requirements and who we think might benefit from this?
Sure. So this program, it's called Parole in Place. There's a similar program for spouses of military members or family members, immediate relatives of military. Sorry. So to be considered for this, you have to be married to a U.S. citizen as of June 17th, 2024, and have been continuously present in the United States for at least 10 years as of that date, so since June 2014. And then you have to have entered the United States without admission or parole, so that's typically without a visa, without inspection, we call it. In addition to that, we've gotten some updated guidance about criminal history. People should not have disqualifying criminal history. They must be otherwise eligible to adjust status in the United States. Basically meaning, I mean, we talked about this in the Spanish one last week, but about how for DACA, an example of something that's disqualifying that we're not sure about with this program are DUIs, things like that. So we're still waiting for more guidance on that, but the basic requirements are that you be married to the U.S. citizen, be here for at least 10 years, and then have entered without inspection.
And Rylan, can you walk us through kind of, let's just say this is approved. What does this do for people? How does it change their paths, their immigration path?
Yeah, so I'm still just double checking whether or not we're live or not.
Well, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to mess up the tech check. So I can start with that.
Okay.
The adjustment of status statute is really what's going to be impacted by this. So if a person is here and they've been admitted on a visa or paroled into the country, they can generally apply for something called adjustment of status. And the statute for adjustment of status says anybody who was inspected and admitted or paroled into the country. And that is key, because what it means is that even if you're paroled and the program is later canceled or your parole later expires, the fact that you were paroled allows you to apply for adjustment of status. And so for people who have U.S. citizen spouses, they can apply here in the country without leaving. And that's a big change, because for people who entered without inspection, their current path was to apply for a visa at the consulate, and they would have to get a waiver of inadmissibility for their unlawful presence. And that waiver, it was filed on a form that's called an I-601A, and it's taking, about 4 years just for them to make a decision on that. And this process will sidestep that. You won't have to apply for the waiver if you otherwise qualify for adjustment. You'll just file for adjustment here in the United States. You'll never have to leave the country and can get your green card here. So it's it's a huge difference for the people who are going to qualify for the parole and for the adjustment of status in the future. What do we know about who's going to be disqualified from this program? In other words, for criminal history or immigration history, have they given us any information about people who might not qualify that you guys have seen?
What I've seen, and apologies, I'm not sure if we're live or not yet. I keep looking and it keeps not coming up. So parts of the Facebook page show us live, but other parts don't. And it's a little confusing for me right now. So apologies if we're not live, but either way, we can record this as kind of an archive for future use and in case anybody finds it helpful. So right now, all of the specific requirements for the program are not exactly clear, although they have made some mention of issues like criminal history. And I know previously they've also said that must otherwise be admissible to the United States. And so that is going through criminal elements, if you're convicted of certain crimes, if you have certain immigration history. But then in other posts, it hasn't repeated that same exact language of must needing to be admissible as well. But I have seen consistently, at least, that you need to have to be eligible in a discretionary sense. So if you have a lot of criminal history and it's particularly nasty charges or crimes or convictions, then you might not be eligible for this, even if you otherwise are eligible, even if you are married to a U.S. citizen and you have been living in the United States for 10 years. Depending on that criminal history, you might still be denied as a matter of discretion, even if you do meet those other qualifications. Were there other things, Aaron, that you knew about in terms of criminal history or immigration history that have been made explicitly clear at this time?
No, I don't think we have a ton of information. The only thing that we know is for immigration history is that being in removal proceedings doesn't necessarily disqualify somebody. They will be able to apply. And it seems like they are just going to cross-reference the Mayorkas priorities as far as who's going to qualify. So that just means people who are national security risks or public safety risks or have recently entered the country unlawfully. So that's, by recently, they mean after November of 2020. They would likely be ineligible. And for public safety, they don't list specific crimes or what would make one a priority. It's just kind of a balancing test where the officers have to look at this. So could they release further information that makes it clear kind of whether a CIMT or a specific type of crime disqualifies a person? Yeah, they could, and we'll be looking for that. But as of now, it looks like they're just cross-referencing the more general priorities memo. And I guess the next thing we're on the lookout for, which I don't know, I would think would have to come out this week or maybe next week, would be the Federal Register notice, right? Because that's what's going to give the details about the forms that are going to be used, the filing fees, the more instructions about who qualifies and how to apply, because that's what we need. And if they are really on pace to start accepting applications this summer, as they said they were going to be, I mean, we're already in July now, so I think it has to come out pretty quickly. Yeah. So that's what we've got our eye on for our clients who we're looking at this program for. We are already starting to work to gather evidence that they've lived here for 10 years. So kind of, they haven't released this guidance yet, but kind of a general rule for proving physical presence on other kinds of cases that we've used is we'd like to document their presence for each quarter of each year. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect, but that's kind of our goal. And so those are things that we can start working with our clients on, just because we want to be able to apply right when the program opens. there might not be a ton of time while this program is open, depending on how the presidential election goes. And for our clients who want to benefit from it, we want to make sure that they have the best chance. And it looks like the best chance might be applying on day one.
Yeah, I think that is the most important thing. And that history of you being in the United States for 10 years is going to probably be a time intensive thing, getting all the evidence required for that. And so getting on that as soon as you can. Not a lot of people have, okay, where was I living 10 years ago? Here, how can I prove that I was living there 10 years ago? That's something that we're looking out for and what we want to help people start gathering so that, we'll be ready day one to file these.
What are some examples of documents that you think could be useful for that? Because you're right, it's not necessarily easy to prove where you were.
Yeah. I don't, Jennifer, do you have any ideas on it?
Yeah, so just basic things that a lot of people have might be pay stubs, if you have old pay stubs or W-2s or tax returns that can show you were here and working during certain years. But then also for quarterly bank statements, I know some people don't have bank statements because of Social Security number issues, but if you do have bank statements, that's helpful. Credit card statements, utility bills, cell phone bills. We've even used, like, if you have Facebook, and you have posts that you tagged you were in a certain location on a certain day, or photos at, you went to Disney World this day. Things like that can be really useful.
Yeah, I've also previously used letters from church organizations. So if a person regularly, consistently goes to a church, having a pastor write a letter saying that is great. But also the more obvious one is leases, mortgages. If you have any of those things, obviously those are going to help show that you were living somewhere, at least paying rent somewhere in the US. And that's what they're looking for, is those sorts of things on paper. And the more official that we can get, not necessarily from a letter from your best friend that can say, yeah, he's been here for 10 years. As Jennifer was saying, bills, third parties that they don't have an explicit interest in you being in the US. It is just, we sent the bill to this guy's house here. That's the strongest evidence that we're looking for. But if we can't get any of that, getting letters from people that have lived in the US, maybe they're a US citizen, maybe, they don't need to be a US citizen, but anybody that's lived here, has known you, your roommate, your family, your wife, your husband, whoever might be involved, that's going to be the lowest totem pole. But if that's what we have to get, that's what we have to get. So anything like that can help.
Yeah. Another thing, medical records, medical bills. If you have children, there's school records that show, he came to this PTA meeting, or, she's a class parent, things like that, that have you listed as a point of contact for your children's school. Also, I've used, if you have children born in the United States, photos of you with them in the hospital when they were born, combined with their birth certificate to show, okay, this child was born here on this day, this person was here in the hospital the day they were born. Like, we can get really creative with it if people don't have, a lease for every single year or something like that.
Yeah, so those are the things that we're really starting to work with people on putting together so that people can be ready. If you have questions about this, or if you know somebody you think might benefit, certainly you can schedule a consultation with one of us or any of the attorneys at our office, and we'd be happy to talk. We will be continuing to do these Facebook Lives to give information as we have it. Right now we're scheduled for Mondays in English and Wednesdays in Spanish, both at noon Denver time. But we are certainly staying on top of any announcements that come out of DHS, and we'll be ready to communicate those to y'all.
Yeah. And apologies if this isn't live right now, but next time it will be. I'll get it all figured out.
All right. Thanks all.
Thanks.
Thank you.